Welcome to our Funky Find here at ThePedalGuy. Today what we're going to take you through is the CabDryVR from DigiTech. This is a pedal that was introduced at the 2017 NAMM show. It's hot stuff. It's got a lot of great stuff going for it, but let's just talk about the core of what it is. This is, for all intents and purposes, your cabinet. This simulates your speaker cabinet, whether it's a bass guitar or a regular guitar. The idea of the CabDryVR is to avoid using a cabinet in situations where you might not be able to. For example, if you're a gigging musician and you're carrying your gear all over the place, it's probably easier to take something like this than schlep a whole amp rig with you. So you can get some amazing sounds with it. But the other thing you can do with it as well is you can take it to your recording studio, whether it's in your bedroom or whether it's in an actual studio, and you can get a great recorded clean sound with it. So that's what it's really based on. So I'm just going to take you very briefly through some of the controls so that you know what's going on here. You'll see that there's duplicates on the main parameters here, which is the level, the size, and then the actual cabinet selection itself. And the reason being is because, as you can see, there are two pairs of inputs and outputs. So this is one of the cool things about this product, is that you can use one input, so you can plug your guitar in, and then you can go out to separate outputs if you want to, or a single output. You can take two inputs, so you could have a guitar and another guitar, and they would go out the corresponding outputs on the left there. You could have a guitar and a bass, and you could have guitar and bass come out on the other side. There's a little trick to that, but I'll get to that. Or you could go through stereo in with, like, say, a synthesizer and stereo out. So there's like a whole bunch of different things you can do with it, and of course it does come with the hardwired piece here, or the stomp lock, it's what it's called. And this just goes over the knobs, so it's kind of a set it and forget it sort of idea. Okay, so in any case, what you've got here, I'll just take you through the basics. So you've got your guitar and your bass. So, well, that's pretty self-explanatory. What you've got below that is then the level and the size. Now, let me explain what that's all about. So the level, that's pretty self-explanatory. Changes the volume as you go along. What the size does is it works in correspondence with the cabinet that you select. All of these cabinets, the 7 cabinets that come with the CabDryVR, that's 7 for guitar and 7 for bass. So there's actually 14 different cabinets to choose from. Those are called what we call impulse responses. And what's happened here is DigiTech has sampled various speaker cabinets, which records the characteristics of it. And then it's been hardwired and embedded into the CabDryVR pedal. So in essence, you've got 7 pretty well-to-do types of cabinets to work with. And we'll explore a couple of them and show you what it's all about. But what the size knob does is it changes the tone, or the resonance, if you want to use the technical term here. So you can go for a dark sound, or you can go for more of a mid-range, or you can go all the way up for a very bright and prickly sound. So there's a lot of variations to what you can do. So let's just do a little bit let's do a couple of demos here for you. So the first thing I'll do is I've got a clean tone here. My trusty Strat. And what I'll do here is just go ahead. Okay, so let's listen to what it sounds like without. Yeah, we're using a compressor on this, but just kind of lightly. Or a little heavily, actually. Okay, so this is without. And here's with. So as you can hear, it opens up. It's got some ambience to it now. Again, without and with. Okay, even from there, if you want to put a little bit of reverb behind this, you can. So you route out to a reverb, and you can get kind of a little more ambience added to your cabinet sound. So what you could do is you could go to, say, if we're using a clean sound, I like to use the C7, which is a small combo. All right, so that was those were the chords from Peg by Steely Dan. Just something I'm picking up, so I figured I'd treat your ears to that. Okay, maybe not. So anyway, that's what you can do. So let me play an A, and what I'll do is I'll make some adjustments to the size knob so you can hear exactly what I'm talking about. So let's start with the bottom. Let's start with the dark sound. So you get the idea. Let's take a look, listen to some of the other cabinets here. So you got the C1, which is a vintage American. You have the C2, which is a British. So it sounds a lot like a filter and a synthesizer. You got a British green slant. Okay, then you've, of course, if you want to go to bass, you just simply switch over to bass. Now, watch what happens to the LED when I do that. Changes color. That's to tell you that you're on the bass mode. So obviously that doesn't sound so good, but there are a couple of bass cabinets that happen to sound really good with guitar. For example, the Cab 4, which is an American tweed 4x10. So you could be playing, so here's the thing to remember. When you're switched to bass mode, both of these are bass cabinets. There's nothing you can do about that. But what you can do is you can plug a guitar into the first or the second and then simply select the cabinets that work best with both guitar and bass. So there's cabinet 4 that works well that way, and then you've got cabinet 7. You can turn that resonance up. Right? So let's go back to guitar, and let's go ahead and turn up some distortion. So I'm going to turn off the CabDryVR for a second, and now let me go over and hit the distortion. I'm going to turn off the compressor because I really don't need it. All right. So now you've got the distortion straight through all the way to the audio interface, and you've got that nasty sound. It kind of sounds just like an amp when you don't introduce a cabinet to it. So if you're going for that tone, that's one thing, okay? But if you don't mean for that tone to happen, then it's not really conducive to working. So what you want to do is just switch on the CabDryVR. So here's before, here's after. Again, before, after. Now let's switch to a different cabinet. So C3, which is a British green slant. All right, so a couple things to note here. I am not using that much distortion, believe it or not. I'm using an Iron Horse by Walrus over here. I'm also using the tone knob on the pedal, the distortion pedal itself, to get a little more bite, but I can use the size knob. All right, so I'll turn that distortion down a bit. Okay, the other thing to note here is that this is extremely sensitive. If you see the LED turning red, that means you're clipping. And in the analog world, clipping is good because you get analog distortion and saturation, and that sounds great to a certain degree. A lot of bands have made their entire career out of that. But in the digital world, that's not so good. So make sure you keep an eye on that level, because you don't want it to go over the top. I'm trying to drive it. Yeah, see how it just turned red? You don't want that. So in any case, let's listen to a couple more of the cabinets here. All right, I know somebody's going to write a response on this video saying, please tune your guitar. But hey, you're still watching it, so all right, let's put a little reverb behind that. Maybe turn the tone on the distortion pedal down a little bit. Maybe a little compression. All right, so anyway, I can noodle all day on this thing. We sell this at ThePedalGuy. It's a great sounding pedal. I think it's one of those things that you just simply have to hear to believe. It's at a price point that is very inviting, very easy to go with. You can find out more about it at ThePedalGuy.com. You can also find out more at the DigiTech website, of course, but come on back to ThePedalGuy.com. We'd love to see you. Also, be sure to follow us on Facebook and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Have a great day.